Alright, take 5. G'day YouTubers, Robert here with my Land Rover Discovery 3 2005 TD V6 turbo diesel, 290,000 kilometres on the clock. Thinking, because it wasn't shown in the service history, that the timing belt had not been done yet. Oddly disappointed to find out they had been. It's an odd thing to be disappointed about, isn't it? But look how clean these idlers are. I've had the car for a few years now. Just trying to think of how many kilometres I've put on. Probably 40,000 K. And you can see some slight damage to that bolt head there. Somebody's been at it, and these, you can see some marks. I mean, as far as I know, they could have been from new, but I don't think so. Anyway, so I think it's been done before, but I've come this far. You know, I was tempted to pull a pin and just leave it there and get another whatever out of it. But assuming it was done, so service intervals apparently 160,000. We're at 290, probably close to 300,000. Just assuming there's only another 20. Hard to believe though. Look how clean these things are. That is nuts. Anyway, so we push on. Now, really what the video is about is I'm not using the locking pins. I didn't buy a locking pin kit because I'm too tight, and I'm not using the locking pin particularly because I couldn't be asked getting in underneath the car, taking off the engine mount, taking out the starter motor and putting in that flywheel locking pin. I was going to go just with a mark, which I've done anyway. You can see the white paint there, marked it. You know what, probably could have worked. There's actually a little bit of play. The whole thing can't be absolutely dead on. I mean, if that moved a little bit, that's going to amplify anything up here. But look, you know, you've got just a little bit of slop. That's not a dead lock. These are just high tensile M6 bolts. One there, one here. So what I've done, as you would have already seen, is made up a little locking system. Just a bit of tube there. That's 57mm long. Worked all this out. That little radius of ground there is a somewhat amazing perfect fit, and I just got the centers, you know, really fluked it. Amazing fit there. Like, yes, it could still theoretically move. It's not like the lock pin in the flywheel, but they're pretty tight. Plenty of thread on this long M6 bolt that I've put in here, reusing of course this e-Torx bolt there. That won't move, so I've put it on, locked it up. I will drop off the tensioner. Obviously then have to remove the belt here. That's one of the downsides to this little system, but really that was very easy to make up. It's not really focusing, is it? Drop off the tensioner, drop off the belt, put the new, just drop the belt back on, refit this. You know, I've still got the mark to double check against. Then run through. Whilst I'm at it, I'm going to replace this, what do they call it? Coolant crossover pipe. I've got the side one. There's a video somebody's done. I haven't done it yet, so we're about to find out. I don't know if it goes in down there in the side of the motor. I've got the high pressure fuel pump. I'm not looking forward to that. I might put that off to another day. There's videos done on that. Something I haven't seen anybody talk about is this rust It's really surface rust, it's not super bad. Under the battery, and I did try with a hose and some water just over the top of the car, down the windscreen. There's water come through here and didn't get wet, but then after quite some rain, sure enough you can see water somehow comes in past the seal. Might be happening here. There's some dirt. Yeah, well there you go. It must easily just come down over this plastic. So I'll probably just run some silicone. I've got some phosphoric acid or rust converter and clean, get that on there. Or wire brush it. Rust converter. I've got some primer filler. And I've got some Zambezi silver paint mixed up. Get that all cleaned up. New battery, which is an AGM battery. This thing is a battery killer. You can't even run the interior lights. So hopefully a new battery will solve that. And that's it. That's really was all about this video. Is this little device on how to lock your timing up, and I'm super confident that's going to work. Nothing else to add. Look, really hasn't been too bad. The fan, just quickly, some people use a locking tool. I didn't bother the locking tool, just 12-inch shifter. It was never that tight. I mean, I've replaced that fan before. Not that I needed to. Aircon guy messed it up, so I ended up buying a fan for no good reason, a brand new fan. It had an aftermarket or a second-hand fan, I think from America, is already on there. So they'd already been at it. I don't know how tight they are new from the factory. Maybe you do need a locking tool from the factory. I don't know, but it's a left-hand thread. So it'll be fitting onto here and undoing, because it's a nut on a bolt. So as if we were doing up, it's a left-hand thread. It didn't go immediately. You know, it slips on the belt. Reposition the spanner. Tap it with the hammer on the end of the spanner, and did that 2 or 3 times over, and away it went. It's a bit of work. Look, you've got to take off coolant, covers and stuff. It's not diabolical, unlike what the fuel pump is going to be. Anyway, alright, thanks for watching. Alright, got the belt off, water pump off. Still got the bash plate on underneath the car, and just caught, I haven't been under there, and just caught most of the liquid. Haven't been very organised really. Caught most of it, soaking up the rest with the rags. Anyway, really was wanting to stop and talk about. So the time belt had been done. Obviously you can't tell from looking at the belt. This one's got a direction of rotation arrow. New one doesn't. You can see here how clean they are, and just no play in them whatsoever. This one's got a little bit of tensioner. Water pump as new. And even they've done the oil pump. Now have a look how clean that is compared to the block. None of that's notated, written down. Maybe that's a date stamp there. I'll try and look at that a bit closer and work that out. That little so 2005 car, that says 16, so I don't know if that's year 2016. Maybe that's not a date stamp at all. Anyway, I'm convinced that that's been replaced. You can't tell me that's the same, and relatively recently as well. But very frustrating that hasn't been written down so you can know at which point it's been done. This one, this was a 2005 car, which I'm pretty sure had the good webbing for the tensioner mount, and you can see this one has the webbing, so that's no problem there. Not so much webbing on. Oh, there is webbing on that side there. Alright, I'll keep putting it back together. Alright, update here. So I haven't run the car since doing the front main timing belt, because I'm tackling the rear high pressure fuel pump belt. There's only 2 videos on YouTube, and really not much help at all around anywhere outside of that about doing these. I haven't completed it yet. I'll provide another update yet. So it's LR time, Christian and Vera, and the chappie on with his 3 videos on raw toast. How did both those guys took the battery out. I've taken the battery out, as we know, to tackle the rust. They were unclipping all these and pulled the wiring loom right forward, and then one of the people on the commenter said, yeah, don't need to do any of that. Undo your what do you call it? Mount, wiring harness, bracket, yes. Now there's, let's see if we can see, just pointing with my finger there, you can see it's shiny just above my finger. One nut holds that on, and there's a stupid clip. There's the clip there. I couldn't work out how to get it off, and in the end I just went for it. I think it's going to re-clip. So some pesky little teeth in there. I tried spreading them open, getting underneath with the screwdriver, and got sick of it in the end and sort of went for it. Anyway, that's got to come off. One knot there. Now the, what do we call it? Mounting bracket, support bracket. It's in 2 pieces now. It's a bit fiddly because you've got along the bottom, see if we can see this, a number of clips, and they clip on quite nicely. I did manage to break. This is the sort of top section. 3 cable ties, one either side, one still there remaining, one through there, and one goes around through those 2 holes. Cut those off and managed to sort of work off the 2. I think it's like this. There's little clips here where my thumb is, left and right. Pry them open. There, even they're a bit fiddly. You've got to open them up further than you think. They're quite tenacious. Then I've got the top left, top right, and you can sort of work it around once you've pulled it up. And I think I got one of these going quite well. I think you can see that one's a bit broken, maybe just there. And in the end I sort of started working this a bit and pulling it out. It got there in the end. That is hard enough to do within itself. Okay, so that's hopefully from that chappie. Sorry, I can't remember your name, buddy. Now that should. Now the reason why I did that is to be able to lay this flat enough. Like I could feel I could get a hand in. I've got one clip off there, but I couldn't really feel the other 2 clips. There's 3 clips. Let's see if I can focus that a bit better. Did you know that you can zoom in when you're watching a YouTube video? You can zoom in. Maybe you can zoom in. maybe I can zoom in. How's that? And you could zoom in yet again, I think. And anyway, I will to get that cover off, and I'll give you an update as soon as I deem it necessary. Oh, the other thing that guy said, I forget to do photos and videos and things, but usually too busy just wanting to get the job done. He said put the idle tensioner, put that on first, and then the belt slides on quite easily afterwards. So hopefully this is it. That this will be just sit down now, nice enough, flat enough. It has really opened up a bit of a decent gap, and see how we go. All right. Okay. Quick update, because that was quick. So I already had the covers popped off. Excuse me again, drinking beer. If you're in Australia, this great beer, I tell you, I've been hooked on it for some time now. It's just the right balance, not too heavy, not too light. And that cover, you can see that covers, maybe you can't see. See that meshy looking, oh, hey, come back. Hey, nice one. Okay, the cover's popped open, I haven't ripped it off. Pop this one with my finger. Now through, come back somewhere. There's that silver hex, looks like a pressure switch or something. Just down through that gap, I could get it with a screwdriver on the top of the next clip, pushed on that, and then the whole cover fell off. So that was remarkably easy. I'll drag that cover out now. Alright, that explains that. I thought it was 3 clips, only 2. That's why 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top. So that was very easy to get off. Still got light. Sorry, alright. Trying to take, I've got the light going on my phone. Try and take some video or just at least something, so I can see when I take the phone out just what the whole situation looks like, how the idler sits before I cut the belt off. You've got to cut the belt, don't take the tensioner off before you take the belt off, because it can damage the thread. Just last couple of threads, you know, come out wonky. People do report that they've managed to damage the threads, and I'll believe them. Okay, progress report. Just a box cutter, something pretty sharp. This is not even that sharp. It's bigger than I thought. Gotta get the new one out of the box. That was quite easy. This job is not as hard as people make out. Sure enough, I did study as best I could raw toast TV and LR time. To be honest, I think they've made it too hard, overcomplicated it. But you know, I think they went ahead by themselves without help, and it's always easy to follow in somebody's footsteps, isn't it? So many thanks to them, making our jobs easier. Alright, time for the old idler off, new idler on, new belt on. Now you can see I've got a lot of light here. I'll just turn this one off so the battery, not that it really matters, but look how good this thing is. This is a 240 volt LED, like a fluoro, stand length fluoro, and just cable tied it up here to the whatever you want to call them, either side. Now it doesn't really get into all the nooks and crannies, of course, but good light is a godsend. I think I just got them on Fleabay. Alright, next steps. This job's going so well, it's almost enjoyable, believe it or not. So, 10mm ratcheting spanner. That's all I've needed so far is a 10mm spanner, screwdriver, up here, small screwdriver, side cutters, and that knife for this job. Anyway, undid the pulley. I was careful too. I wasn't sure about which way this locator pin went in. Was it 9 degrees? Was it top? Where was it? Anyway, I pulled it straight out, kept its location, and we can see that the locating pin is on the bottom. New bolt comes with the new idler pulley tensioner. There he is. So I'll do that and update you again. Hang on. Okay, so I've been working quite well in the dark. Got the new pulley on just from like muscle memory. Just reached my hand in and pretty much just got the bolt. Not just pretty much. Did bolt just dropped on. I got the belt started, except for some reason. You can see, well, maybe we'll see what's going on. I'm pretty sure I've got it going under the pulley, but it's really short, not coming up under the idler. So you can see this right hand one where I've got the phone, should be pointing at now, has got the shoulder on it. It's the same as the front. One's got a shoulder on the right hand side and the other one has no shoulders. So I started with the shoulder one first, under the pulley, and what's going on here. Alright, let me have a look. And there we go. So I just went back and reviewed the video. Good thing I took some video. I would have seen it. I've seen reference to it in Land Rover pictures that people put up, or other videos. But with the actually, there's a video where the chappie showed the configuration of the belt, and there's some videos with the motor out showing the belts. So I would have gotten it, but it would have been a bit foolish of me to not pick it up. The belt doesn't go underneath. How quick I forgot. It goes on top. So I'll reroute it and hopefully we can at least get this. It's getting a bit later now tonight here in Adelaide, South Australia, and hopefully I'll get the belt routed, probably pull the pin, get the tension on it, and call it a night. Alright, that belt took a little bit doing to get on. It's already pretty close fitting, a bit like the front one before we put the tension on. And I'll have a look. Get in there. Let's have a look before we call it quits. And tomorrow we'll just launch into it, put the cover back on, that wiring line bracket back on. You know what, it hasn't been too bad. Just work by feel really is the way to go. And alright, I'll stop, have a look and recommence tomorrow. Cheers. Alright, last look, here we go. I remembered about the tensioning pin. I thought, oh, I better pull that out before I forget and launch into it tomorrow. Imagine that, putting the cover back on. Hopefully couldn't get the cover on. Maybe if they'll design it that well, you can let the pin in. So last look, now that I've pulled the pin out. Oh, come on. That's better. Hopefully that looks pretty good, and then we'll pull the pin and come back tomorrow. Okay, it's the next morning. I've got the high pressure fuel pump belt on. Everything's reassembled, so I'll just talk through some bits and bobs. Maybe I've forgotten some yesterday. Feeling pretty good about the fuel pump belt. Fully doable. It's a bit, it's like anything else working on a car. It's a bit fiddly, but it's not as daunting. The message I'm trying to convey is that it's not as daunting as what people make out. Just go for it, you'll be okay. Especially with a little bit of help from our friends. So this, what I didn't mention yesterday, coolant crossover tube. there's one thing that comes off. There's that bolt there for him. 10mm spanner, ratcheting spanner is good for that. Unclip him here. But one of the hardest things was the getting the hose off. You know, after all these years of being on. Mate's been once before. I know I haven't owned the car from new. Really stuck on. So, you know, small screwdriver in there, prying it, working it all around. Eventually it come loose. And there's the other clip down there. You can see the fuel lines here, these steel fuel lines. I've got some extra cable ties. The clips, you know, they break. Clips break all over the place. Cable tie to hold on, and then cable tie to keep them separated so they don't rub on each other. Especially the case over here. I've got one to get it back on instead of the clip to the this mount. Cable tie either side to stop rubbing together. You can see some rubbing going on here. Not sure what's been rubbing on. Anyway, so one bolt. Now, that's right. Don't forget your one nut there. That doesn't even need to come all the way off because that's like a clip that just pushes onto that 6mm bolt, 10mm spanner there. You might be able to see that. Can I zoom in? I didn't clean the lens before I started. You can just see the end of that clip. Oh, hey. That's too good. Come back. That was good, wasn't it? That clip here above it with the wire holding the wires. Very pesky to get off. So you're going to let's unzoom. When you get this, you push it off over here. It's held on this right hand side by another clip that just pushes off of that round thing, whatever that is. You just push it off, drag the whole lot forward, somehow work that pesky lid off with all its clips, top and bottom. 3 cable ties. I've got all that cable tied back on. And that's it. You do not have to unplug. I know it looks dodgy because I've got that battery out just like Raw Toast and LR Time. God bless their hearts. No unplugging of those plugs. No wiring looms coming off. No nothing. Oh, that reminds me. I just unplugged this one just in case I was leaning on it and didn't want to damage the cables there. So that's back on. Really, that's gone well. Now, whilst I'm feeling pretty good about the high pressure fuel pump, I'm feeling a bit sheepish about my timing belt. I knew when I reassembled it yesterday that it had all gone remarkably just a little bit too quickly and maybe I'd missed a step, and I realised after I had it all back together that I hadn't rotated it twice. And whilst I was super confident, you know, double checked all my work, that it was a lot cheaper. I spent an hour and a half pulling this all off again. Really, the most pesky part is getting some of these, not this bolt here, but it's the bolt on the very left and on the very right are a bit pesky to get access to. So that getting that cover off is really the main problematic bit. All the pulleys, bolts come off easy. Belt comes off pretty easy and back on, especially once you've done it a couple of times, of course. And like I say, only an hour and a half, and that was all good. I did that before finishing off the high pressure fuel pump, rotating it twice, and that way I stuck my phone back in and just had a look to make sure that everything was tracking properly with the high pressure fuel pump as well. So that was good. Anyway, I'll now get a crack on, clean that up, get the battery back in. I'm going to, I'll do a separate video I mean, I've done one before, it's in my phone somewhere, about the brake booster for these things. Actually quite important, and some innovation that I've come up with there. I'll look into the phone and maybe find that old video. And I'm going to talk about the air suspension compressor. Yeah, those are the right words. That lives just down here. I bought a cheap Chinese. This crapped itself about 18 months ago. Still the original compressor, so no complaints. Well, can't complain. One quickly, just got one on eBay, available locally. It's all of $170, I think. But geez, it's noisy. And I'm getting a new one sent to me from England, proper Hitachi. So hopefully I remember, and I will take a video of. It's not very interesting, is it? That vision. I'll take a video of the compressor and that noise, and you'll think twice about fitting a cheap Chinese compressor. And even if I did get a good one, you know, it's always going to back of my mind. I want to say good one that wasn't so noisy. That it was a cheap Chinese compressor. How long is it going to last? Everything else. So I'm quite happy, outside of the fact that it has been so noisy and frankly annoying for so long, that I've had it on there. It's bought me time to bring one in. It's half price from England, rather than buying the proper Hitachi locally available one. I've got 2 new rear struts coming as well, you know, airbag shocks. I'll fit them. I've already done the fronts. Like I said, 290,000 Ks, so no complaints about those shocks. I might even just stick the new ones into stock. And if I go and do a big trip, that'll be the time that I go to change them out, and that won't be hard. So, alright, farewell and good luck with your belts. Cheers. See ya.